just trying to change the world here, people.
Oh, really?
Facebooking and the tweeting and the Instagramming, all that would not exist without our understanding of science.
It's amazing how you do that as an insult. You mean true for you is different from true for anybody else?
Yeah, absolutely, because I can't
prove either got to be true or not.
I can't, no.
Well, it's that time again, and here we are.
Oh, really?
50-freaking-2.
Oh, God, why?
We have been doing this for a whole year, ladies and gentlemen, and it is Friday, April 3rd, 2015, and we're going to change the format now. I know.
Now.
I know. Now,
You're in, we're committed, and we're going to change it.
You're in, we're going to change it. But that's just kind of how things work. As you've probably noticed, I'm your host, Andy Cowan. We have Mike, and we have Don. Specifically baritone Don, because he's been working in the coal mine, working downtown.
Going down.
About to slip. Woo! Wow. Exactly. So today's format change will be essentially a little bit of the good, a little bit of the bad, and a little bit of the ugly. Actually, it's going to be a whole lot of the ugly. Specifically, let's see, what are they calling it these days? Oh, yes, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, or RFRA. RFRA. Yes. So let's get into the good. Stanford University's tuition is now going to be free for students whose families make less than $125K a year.
Ooh.
So most of them.
That's pretty awesome.
An awfully large portion. So I'm beginning to think that this may be a real seed change for the nation as a whole, because we've seen Germany do it already. I believe there's been a couple other countries that are offering free tuition to outsiders even. You know, if you're an American citizen, you wanted to go to Germany, you could get a free college education.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. But we can't do it here until now.
But wait, there's more.
There's always more. There's always more. Let's see. I
like that.
Whose parents earn less than $65K, Stanford will cover room and board costs too. Students enrolled in Stanford's financial aid program will still need to contribute $5,000 to their college costs each year through work-study programs and summer jobs. Under Stanford's previous financial aid policy, students whose parents earned less than $100,000 a year were eligible for free tuition. So there was a program. I've never heard about it. Amazingly enough. And of course, it's probably going to be poo-pooed by, well, everybody that has some, I don't know, elephant as their mascot.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I know.
Could you elaborate in more clear terms?
We'll talk a lot about them later. So also in science news, did you know that we're still evolving?
Of course we are.
Why, yes.
Our brains have gotten larger over the past century.
I refuse.
You refuse.
You refuse to evolve.
He's too tired to evolve right now.
What is you can't. We are not the perfect apex predators. We are neither great white sharks nor crocodiles. We must evolve. We're not perfect yet.
We need bigger teeth.
Very well then.
Sharper teeth. More teeth.
Company called Decode Genetics, and the senior author of the book, Carrie Stephenson. There's a lot of little syllables and umlauts on her name and things like that, so I know that I'm butchering it, and I'm going to butcher it as creatively as possible. So Kari Stephenson, scientists reached the conclusion after showing that almost every man alive can trace his origins to one common male ancestor who lived about 250,000 years ago. The discovery that so-called genetic Adam lived about 100,000 years more recently than previously understood suggests that humans must have been genetically diverging at a more rapid rate than was thought. Study shows that the most recent common male ancestor was alive at around the same time as the mitochondrial Eve, the last woman to whom all females alive today can trace their mitochondrial DNA. So, how about them apples?
Fascinating.
And I totally didn't actually mean to use the whole Apple and Eve thing, but
Sure you didn't.
I didn't mean to. I really didn't, but it was there. So,
Are they going to come out with the iHuman?
iHuman?
Yeah, Apple.
Yeah,
I
probably.
hate you a little bit right now.
They probably will. If Tim Cook is listening, I'm sure that he's going to have his team of minions work on that. Additionally, not to parlay that whole Apple reference into anything else, but garlic.
Yeah.
Back into culinary.
Love garlic.
A team looked at the nutrients' ability to in garlic to inhibit and possibly even reverse brain cell damage caused by environmental stresses, which would environmental stresses would be the aging process, smoking, pollution, traumatic brain injury, or even excessive alcohol consumption.
Woohoo!
Because science and garlic. So apparently it does more than just ward off those pesky vampires.
I knew there was a reason I loved garlic. Garlic is awesome.
Garlic it does. It tastes fantastic.
Just smother everything in garlic. That's all.
Just don't go on people and you'll be okay.
Yeah, just mix it with onion.
Yeah. Or
That's
you could
kissable
follow
sweet
it up
breath right there.
Yeah, you could follow it up with some chocolate.
Ooh.
Scientists have been working out how to make chocolate healthier and, get this, more flavorful.
Okay.
I don't understand how.
I'm science. I don't know.
Unless they're going to wrap it around bacon, which has already been done.
And it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah, I don't think that would make it necessarily more nutritious, though.
Bacon makes everything better.
Yeah, but not more nutritious.
Well, how is it not nutritious? It's got protein in there. You need protein. Protein's important.
Protein is important.
Right. Yeah. We'll just completely avoid all those fats and things like that. By making a couple of simple adjustments to the earliest processing steps, researchers found that they could boost the content of health-promoting compounds in cocoa beans and also improve the resulting chocolate's flavor, making it sweeter. The work was presented at the 249th National Meeting and Exposition of the American Chemical Society and published in African Journals Online. How about that? Yum. Yum.
No apples.
Yeah. And also, finally, in good news, we may finally be on the verge of some huge settlement agreement with the nation of the Islamic State of Iran in reference to their nuclear weapons capability. Whereas we're not going to let them have one. And they're somehow okay with this, including many of the sanctions that we're going to put on them, as long as they do get a little bit of assistance and some of the other sanctions that we're keeping.
It's like a gradual lifting of sanctions over the course of the next 10 years.
Yeah. And, again, they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. That's the big thing. I've always been less worried about Iran having a nuclear weapon than nearly any of the other Saudi Arabian Peninsula kind of nation states.
Okay.
Iran has a stable government, which is more than can be said for a lot of the countries over there.
That's very true.
Yeah. And that's why.
And we might not agree with the things that they say or the political rhetoric that occurs in those countries in general, but in spite of all the political rhetoric, Iran has a stable government.
And there is a lot to be said for stability, especially in that region.
Yeah, it's really an accomplishment to have just stood there without a ridiculous amount of turmoil in the sandbox.
Yeah, we don't have to agree with it. In fact, it's good to be challenged on certain things now and then. However, we're all pretty much on board with peace. You know, the whole process of peace. Not shooting people. is a good idea. Personally, this is something that I continue to say over and over and over again. How about we have less people being shot? Just as opposed, I was kind of equating it to every bullet is a sandwich out of a child's hands. That kind of thing. And we fire an awful lot of bullets. I think we should fire less bullets. Just as a species, I think we should fire less bullets and focus that on some other things. Peace is a fantastic way to shoot less people.
Save money.
I think more people should try it.
It's a frugality.
Well, yeah.
It's a money-saving thing, yeah.
Well, it's a money-saving thing to the people that are being shot as well. To those that are selling the bullets, it's not a money-saving thing at all.
Yeah.
No.
So, and then of course there's the this little country along the Mediterranean in that area. I think it's called Israel.
Oh,
and
yes.
Think so?
I
Just
think
maybe.
it could be. Some may call it the Promised Land. I don't. Benjamin Netanyahu, their prime minister, still, he's really against any good news to come out of Iran. I mean, really, in a big way, wants Iran to just blow away in nuclear dust, I think.
I don't know why, but okay.
Well, let's see. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned on Friday that any final agreement with Iran concerning its nuclear program must include, quote, a clear and unambiguous Iranian commitment of Israel's right to exist. So, essentially, Benjamin Netanyahu and most of the Israeli cabinet are under the impression that Iran's existence poses an existential threat to their own existence.
Well, here's the thing about that. They're Jewish. Most every other nation out there is Muslim. And history tells us that the Muslims really, really want to slaughter all the Jews. So I guess I can't really blame him for that one.
There is a bit of that, yes. But when you get out of the realm of just like interpersonal politics and even religious politics, and then go to nation-state politics, you take it to another level, and there's a lot of wheeling and dealing that folks have to do. I don't see a whole lot of wheeling and dealing from Israel.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I really don't see Israel budging on anything.
Well, because every time they do, they get shafted or invaded or something.
Well, no, I'm perfectly willing to accept that if you can tell me when they've actually tried to negotiate something that wasn't their way of the highway. I haven't seen any gimmies from them. Like, okay, you can have that. Okay, I will meet you halfway on this. I haven't seen any of that come out of them. Maybe I haven't been looking hard enough. Maybe I don't have a high enough security clearance. That's quite possible.
It's possible. Our media really sucks at reporting on the region overall.
Oh, our media just sucks at reporting anything that isn't doom and gloom and terror. So there's a good chance that it's happened and just nobody wants to show us that because it's not party line.
That's quite possible, yeah.
Because as we all know, the media, their fucking strings are pulled by, well, someone who has an elephant for a
corporations,
mascot.
essentially.
Well, someone who has an elephant for a mascot. And they don't want us to see anything about peace in that region.
Well,
why would they? That's not good for business.
Peace isn't profitable, yeah. Netanyahu convened his Israeli cabinet for a special session to discuss the Emerging Deals Framework, a tentative agreement on which was announced Thursday following marathon negotiations in Switzerland. But Netanyahu said he and his cabinet are united in strongly opposing the deal, the Associated Press reported, which was made by Iran and 6 world powers, including the U.S. So let's not forget, we are merely another seat at the table. This is a bigger thing than just the United States. So
the seat at the table that Israel is not sitting at.
Right.
So they're not really in the know necessarily about what this framework entails at this time.
Well,
I'm
weren't
sure-
they invited and refused the invitation? I seem to recall something about them refusing to go to the table with Iran.
That's very possible. Or
And
they,
in that
or
case,
they
it's
might
their
not have been
fucking fault.
invited. They might not have been invited with all the shenanigans that Netanyahu was trying to play with politics and everything. Here in the United States.
Well, then either way, it's his fucking fault. If you're gonna be an asshole, people aren't gonna invite you to the big boy table.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're gonna behave like a child, then you can stay at the kiddie table with the other assholes.
Netanyahu told the AP, quote, "Such a deal does not block Iran's path to the bomb. Such a deal paves Iran's path to the bomb, and it might very well spark a nuclear arms race throughout the Middle East, and it would greatly increase the risk of terrible war."
Well, this guy's been on that boat for the past, 27 years or so?
Oh, yeah, the better part of 3 decades. Yeah.
I mean, I'm usually on Israel's side because Israel's been kicked around a whole lot, and they're not on this slaughter everyone crusade that a lot of Muslims are. For the most part. There's extremists everywhere, but for the most part, they're pretty okay dudes. But how the fuck can you justify saying that a peace agreement which is designed to disarm nuclear capability is directly going to lead to your enemy getting the bomb? That's fucking asinine.
It's political rhetoric.
It's a bunch of bullshit.
And apparently, Obama reportedly reiterated his public statement back to him, saying, the agreement is going to make the world safer. Over and over and over. And it's like, I don't see how it can't. And really, if we look at the region, Iran and Israel, their squabble is going to go on forever.
As long as they both exist.
Yeah. Even when the names change and the heads of state change, they're still going to be in conflict for an awfully long time.
Maybe forever.
Yeah. The foreseeable and beyond future. If you're really worried about what's going to happen in the world, you just can go a little bit further north and hit Russia. Because with all the deals and things that are going on with Putin and the Ukraine and the chess game that he's playing with having his little war game maneuvers off, I don't know, the United Kingdom and down south around Mexico, he's been doing some things that have been garnering an awfully large amount of attention. Basically, saber rattling.
Yeah.
He's been doing an awful lot of saber rattling. Basically, to say, hey, yeah, we're not irrelevant anymore.
We didn't say you were irrelevant. We just said you're being an asshole. I mean,
you'll need to stop marginalizing us.
I don't think they have been marginalized since the Cold War. I think everyone has kept them on the radar.
We are not all drunk on vodka and eating potatoes over here.
Yeah, but the only problem I have with his antics is with
was it
what,
the bear?
With,
it was bear wrestling, wasn't it?
No, with what military engine? Since the fall of the Soviet Union, they've been selling off their resources.
It's my nipple. You don't like my nipples.
Just all over the goddamn place. They don't have the war engine that they used to anymore. They can't pose a serious threat if they get into a protracted engagement with a major power. Their little invasion of the Ukraine, well, the Ukraine is former Soviet bloc. Of course they can crush them because they were the heartland of the former Soviet Union. So they have the resources. But if they go up against, actual world powers, they don't.
They also still have nuclear weapons.
Yeah,
they are still at the adult table.
They are still at the adult table. I think the bottom line with all the saber rattling is it's more for the benefit of the Russian citizen than it is for actual world standing. He's trying to drum up morale and patriotism within his lands, within his borders,
while attracting the ire of everyone around him.
Yeah,
that's what a lot of world leaders do. Look at our own stance in the region.
Yeah,
there's an awful lot of people that don't like the United States over there. Even when we try to do our best. We still fuck up.
Well, we need to stop trying to police the world.
We fuck up an awful lot, and I mean, our policy of intervening in the affairs of other sovereign nations to an extreme degree, not winning us any favors.
Yeah.
It's like if you go over and you're like, I'm just gonna park this security guard in your yard.
Yeah.
It's for your protection as well as mine.
There's this thing that you see in sci-fi a lot, this little thing called the Prime Directive, which basically says thou shalt not interfere. We need to adopt that immediately.
Yeah.
Non-interference directive.
Well, we pretty much balance the budget overnight if we actually adopted something like that.
Right?
Because we have 900 military bases in 100 other nations.
And we pay out the nose for that property.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's no reason for us to be there. Those strong numbers, there's no reason.
I mean, these are countries that have their own militaries. They've got their own police forces. They've got their own stable governments. There's no fucking reason for us to be there.
I mean, I understand the especially with our allies, the idea of joint task forces. I even understand the idea of with our Navy forward deployment. Our ships, we don't keep our ships at home. We make sure that they're patrolling around the world in international waters and fighting pirates and ready to move at a moment's notice if they have to. But that's one thing, and our bloated, just overreached military engine is another. We don't need as much as we have to adequately defend the nation.
No.
And we're just flushing money down the toilet into projects that get half finished and then are tossed into the garbage. And there's no oversight on this. And we don't even know how much money we're spending. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. But between the Raptor project and, oh my God, the tanks that Congress wants to buy that the Army doesn't want, over and over and over again.
Because tank warfare is a thing of the past, and actual military officials know this.
And we already have enough. We have so many. We leave them when we leave.
We could get rid of like half of the Abramses that we have, and have more than enough. And the Abrams is an unstoppable death machine.
Yeah. Well, the Army's been fighting this fight for actually quite a long time. I think at least 5 years, at the rate of 1,000 tanks a year, something to that effect. And the justification has historically been, we don't want to lose the ability to build these tanks, in the event that we do need a fuckload of them out of the blue for some reason.
I'm trying to think, at what reason would we need these at all anymore?
With air power, we don't.
Yeah, with air power, we just blow it up, and we never even have to set foot on the ground.
And as soon as we set up the whole rods from God thing, then we won't even need air power. We literally nuke the site from orbit.
Well, it's not nuclear.
It's not nuclear. It's just kinetic energy, but it's still pretty fucking effective.
It will generate the force and the explosion of a nuclear blast.
We're going to move on from this particular geopolitical thing, but you mentioned rod the site. Now this is a very popular thing among geek culture and those that have some knowledge of sci-fi, fantasy, and physics.
Yes.
Now, rodding something is.
This isn't just bar terminology here.
Yeah, this isn't something that you'd hear in the bar, talk amongst yourselves. No, this is serious weaponry. Basically, you have an orbital platform of some type, and essentially, you can calculate where something's going to land with Newtonian physics.
We can do that very effectively.
It's not even hard. There are guys that can actually do it in their head.
Yeah,
There's
there really are. So, yeah, there's that for that. And there probably is.
The cell phone is more powerful than the old spaceship computers.
So it so is.
And there's no real guidance system. They basically point it in a direction and launch it, and it's just a hunk of metal falling out of the sky. And the kinetic energy is obscene.
It hits and makes craters.
Yeah, you know that whole thing about when the dinosaurs died? Yeah. That, just in miniature precision.
Yeah.
Because force equals mass times acceleration.
Right.
And a very little mass launched from fucking orbit will create a heck of a lot of force. Because Sir Isaac Newton is the deadliest motherfucker on the battlefield.
Yes. It's true. So true. Damn you, gravity. Damn you.
And because there's no guidance system, essentially, there's nothing the enemy can do about it. It's
really
going to hit that spot, and you need to not be there or within a certain radius of that spot when it lands.
Yeah. Back in the old days, they would have referred to such a thing as an act of God.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what it would be.
Smite there.
Exactly. It would be the smite hammer. So just think, NASA's going out to the belt, and they're going to be dragging some small boulders back for testing. I just want to let that sink in.
Purposes.
Mining.
It is, of course, mining. But what are you going to do when you've taken all the stuff you want out?
Well, then there's a bunch of rock. It's heavy.
It's a bunch of rock.
There are asteroids up there with national debt's worth of precious metals in them.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And we need to get on that shit.
Oh, we have. This has been in the geek culture for a long time.
Oh yeah.
The only problem is geeks don't get elected very often.
Nope.
Even though we have the best ideas.
We got some great ideas. The problem is the budgets.
Yeah, all we need is some money to back them up.
Yeah, you need power to get the money.
So we're gonna move away from Israel and planetary bombardment talk, though it's fun. By the way, we were in the bad section, if you couldn't have guessed. So now I wanted to. This came across my newsfeed a little while ago, and I just wanted to illustrate that even a psychopath can still have reasons.
Plead to the second count of murder in the second. Guilty?
Yes, sir.
And doing so freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Doing so because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
All right.
The reason I killed him was because he was a child molester. You didn't kill him? Oh, sure. And you intended to kill him? Oh, sure, yes. Well, if it's all right, I'd like to tell you where it started.
Go ahead.
All right, well, he was my bunkie, and I had found out that he was in prison for child molestation, a really bad case. So that night he was trying to justify why he did it, and I just told him to be quiet, and he would have to leave in the morning to find a new cell. But he continued to talk about it and try to justify it, so he was a little bit bigger than me, so I got down and I hit him in his face a few times, and when he fell, I wrapped a cord around his neck and I took his life.
And that's that.
Well then.
Yeah. Just perfectly calm, rational. It's like, yeah, he's got to go. Just, yeah. I don't know. Obviously, he was already in jail for something. I don't know what he did before. It may not have even been murder. It really might not have been. But man's got principles.
Mm-hmm. There's always been a lot of talk about justice in the prison system for people who do bad things.
It does happen. It does happen.
It is notorious that if you're a child molester, you're not going to have a good time in jail.
No, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
The worst of times.
That's how horrific that crime is in the human psyche. That even
the
other
prisoners don't want to have anything with it.
other murderous criminals think you are worse than them.
All I did was murder a half dozen people. This guy's fucking kids.
Yeah,
he's got to go.
This guy's got to go.
So I don't know. I'm torn. It's like, is there hope? I don't know. It's just one of those weird things, but I thought it was worth pointing out that yes, there is some further justice system, as odd and twisted as it happens to be, in prison.
It could be a warning to people too.
Could be a warning. This might be a warning. Take it as you will. Yes, but he did definitely want to get his message across that, hey, look, I had to do it. I mean, I was going to let him go. It's like, okay, he's told me once. Oh, now he wants to explain in gory detail. No. We're
not having this conversation right now. You have been voted off the island.
Exactly. You're still talking. You need to stop talking. You're still talking. I'm going to make you stop talking.
You are the weakest link.
You are the weakest link.
Well, he explained, he's like, this dude was a little bit bigger than me. If the dude was smaller, he might have just beat the ever-loving shit out of him. But he was like, this dude's bigger.
Yeah.
So
one chance at it, and he took it.
Yes.
I might only have one shot at this guy.
So as a warm-up for our main event of the Ugly, in California, there was a ballot initiative that did end up there with enough votes to actually, make a little bit of progress for getting signatures. It's just being called the Shoot the Gays ballot. Yeah. Now, obviously, there's no way in hell that this kind of thing is going to make it anywhere, especially in California.
Maybe in Indiana.
Maybe in Indiana, and we'll get to that in just a couple minutes. But
maybe in Indiana, but not California.
So the narrative here, I'm just going to read it because really, someone has taken some time and actually composed their thoughts. I don't think I can compose my thoughts on this, so I'm just going to read. It doesn't matter that a California lawyer's outrageous Sodomite Suppression Act ballot initiative proposes executing gays with bullets to the head, or that it's unconstitutional and could never become law. California Attorney General Kamala Harris is forced to allow the measure to circulate for signatures, legal experts say. The initiative, which mandates 10 years in prison and permanent expulsion from California for anyone who advocates gay rights to minors, stands no chance of collecting 365,000 valid signatures it needs to appear on next year's ballot, but because its backer, Matt McLaughlin, I don't know, there's laugh in the middle, and that makes me giggle, paid the $200 filing fee by the February deadline. Harris is bound by law to prepare a title and summary of the initiative by May so that its sponsor can begin collecting signatures, legal experts told the San Francisco Chronicle. Joe Matthews, a fellow at the Center for Social Cohesion at Arizona State University, argued on California politics website Fox and Hound that forcing the Attorney General to allow the circulation of such an absurd proposal attacks the integrity of the initiative process. He said, quote, "A human rights exception should be adopted for these instances." Quote, when you are taking away fundamental human rights, as in the right to live, it is appropriate to give our public officials a formal exception that they can invoke to block an initiative that violates fundamental human rights. End quote.
I'm actually in disagreement. And I'll explain. I'm going to qualify this. I'm in disagreement because I want him to circulate this list, and I want it to be made public so that everybody can see who the true assholes of the world are.
Wow. My comment on the matter.
Look at that, yeah.
My comment on the matter is I'm reminded of something from the mental health world, something having to do with complete lack of empathy for one's fellow man, diminished remorse, and disinhibited behavior.
Sociopaths?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kind of mental illness, the very rare kinds of mentally ill people who are actually violent criminals, tend to come from this school of thought. People who are so separated, so divorced from the rest of humanity that they are dangerous and should be put down. So I would like to introduce a counter initiative. Shoot the people who want to shoot the gays. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Actually, An innovative response to McLaughlin's initiative comes from activist Charlotte Laws, who told Slate she was filing the, quote, Intolerant Jackass Act on Monday. The bill reads, and this is awesome, quote, any person herein known as an intolerant jackass who brings forth a ballot measure that suggests the killing of gays and or lesbians, whether this measure is called the Sodomite Suppression Act or is known by some other name, shall be required to attend sensitivity training for at least 3 hours per month for 12 consecutive months. In addition, the offender or intolerant jackass must donate $5,000 to a pro-gay or pro-lesbian organization.
Beautiful.
That's just hilarious. I love it.
And also, to add further insult to injury, McLaughlin may face other repercussions for advocating murder. According to the Sacramento Bee, State Senator Ricardo Lara, Democrat, has asked that the State Bar of California investigate McLaughlin, and more than 3,800 people at the time of this have signed a petition asking State Bar President Craig Holden to revoke McLaughlin's law license.
Absolutely.
So, there you go. So he's not going to get the 365,000 valid signatures for the ballot, but he is going to get an awful lot of signatures asking for his head on a platter.
Well, it could be worse than that because there's the pastor who he was a U.S. pastor. He went to Kenya and he helped them spearhead their murder of the gays laws. He's up on charges of crimes against humanity. Yeah. And I don't see why this guy is any different. I don't see why he doesn't qualify for exactly the same type of shit.
He should qualify.
It's something.
Because that is a crime against humanity. That's absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it's not gonna fly. It's not gonna fly. And we are now at the ugly.
The black hat saunters into the bar.
Okay. Now, I'm going to start this off with a quote from Thomas Jefferson in his 1802 letter to the Baptists of Danbury, Connecticut. Quote, believing with you that religion is a matter which lies solely between man and his God, that he owes account to none other for his faith or his worship, that the legitimate powers of government reach actions only and not opinions, I contemplate with sovereign reverence that act on the whole American people which declared that their legislature should, quote, make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, end quote, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. Just let that sink in, that is Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers of our nation, one of our presidents, and a staunch defender of the separation of church and state. The builder of the wall, if you will. Now, RFRA, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. A little history. Now, we've been hearing an awful lot about it because of the states' rights issues that have been cropping up with a lot of the state RFRAs. Well, the initial one was passed in 1993, and it was actually brought up by the Democrats in the House and the Senate simultaneously, and it was passed very quickly by Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton, of course. It states it ensures that interests in religious freedom are protected. Now, that's as vague as it possibly could be, but if you continue to dig in, and I have an awful lot of information on this, and I'm going to try to not actually read all of it and bore you to tears. Essentially, if we boil it all down, it's about peyote. I know, weird, right? It's about it's about the Native Americans and their religious exception to be able to use peyote in their religious ceremonies on religiously sacred land. And of course, the sacred land being bulldozed and roads being put straight through their worship areas. They weren't very keen on that. So there were a couple different Supreme Court cases that brought this up. One is called the Smith decision, and it's really kind of the crux of the matter. And this I'll read, a little background on it. Employment Division versus Smith in 1990. The court upheld the state of Oregon's refusal to give unemployment benefits to 2 Native Americans fired from their jobs at a rehab clinic, convenient that, after testing positive for mescaline, the main psychoactive compound in the peyote cactus. You know, actually, before this, I didn't even know peyote was from a cactus. I didn't even know. I thought it was some bush or something. You know, kind of like weed. Yeah, which they use in religious ceremony all the time. Peyote use has been common practice in Native American tribes for centuries. It was integrated with Christianity into what is now known as the Native American Church. Also, I did not know that either. The Smith decision outraged the public. Many groups came together, both liberal and conservative groups, like the ACLU and Traditional Values Coalition, as well as other groups such as the Christian Legal Society, the American Jewish Congress, the Baptist Joint Committee for Religious Liberty, and the National Association of Evangelicals. They all joined forces to support RFRA, which would reinstate the Sherbert test, overturning laws if they burden a religion. The constitutionality of RFRA as applied to the federal government was confirmed later on in February of 2006 when the Supreme Court ruled against the government in Gonzalez versus O Centro Esperata, a long Spanish thing. Long. Okay, in 2006, which involved the use of an otherwise illegal substance in a religious ceremony, stating that the federal government must show a compelling state interest in restricting religious conduct. So, by the way, the end-all be-all of this is now after RFRA, yes, you can use peyote in your religious ceremonies. You can use Schedule I narcotics in your religious ceremonies if that is a deeply held religious belief. I was under the impression, actually, that no, you really still couldn't do that. But no, this is what allows that to actually happen. So, really, just to reiterate, RFRA, the 1993 version, was all about to stop meddling in the illicit substance abuse or illicit substance habits of the Native American populace in regards to their religious ceremonies. And of course, since we do have a bit of, let's see, I know there's a better term for it, but regret, national regret over all the things that we've done to the Native Americans, and we should, certainly. I'm sure that this was pushed a little further. And with all of those organizations backing it, everybody was on board. It was an overwhelming success. There were only, like 7 dissenters out of everybody.
Yeah.
It was a huge success. Now, of course, with anything like this, it's going to be abused. But let's go in a little bit to the Sherbert test, or the lemon test, or as I would like to now refer it to, the lemon Sherbert test. I'm going to combine these two delicious flavors. Now, obviously, Sherbert is a last name, and lemon is a last name. But the fact that it makes a delicious dessert, I cannot help, and this is how I remember it from now on.
Yes.
So, for me, it's the lemon Sherbert test, and really, they're identical. They really are. The Sherbert test, I believe they're going with the Sherbert test because it's older. It is from Sherbert versus Werner in 1963. It is based on the following 4 criteria, sometimes also referred to as 3 prongs. I don't know why. When really, there's 4 criteria, 3 prongs. There's 4 bullet points, but 3 prongs. They're considering the first 2 as one prong. I know. Just let it happen.
Just let it happen.
Let it happen. Let it happen.
American legal system at work.
flow over you. Yes. Okay. So it is based on the following criteria. For the individual, the court must determine whether the person has a claim involving a sincere religious belief, and whether the government action is a substantial burden to the person's ability to act on that belief. If we expand that out a little bit, if the government confronts an individual with a choice that pressures the individual to forego a religious practice, whether by imposing a penalty or withholding a benefit, then the government has burdened the individual's free exercise of religion. Seems fairly clear, right?
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward.
So this is easy. This is the easy part. Now, once those elements have been established, then we go on to the other two prongs. If these two elements are established, then the government must prove the interest prong, and that is that it is acting in the furtherance of a, quote, compelling state interest. And the narrowly tailored prong, I'm not making this up, it's out there, that it has pursued that interest in the manner least restrictive or least burdensome to the religion. So basically, have you tried another way that won't hurt them or that doesn't bother them? If you're going to be running that road through religious land, can you possibly avoid them? Is that okay? Can you do that? Is it possible to do that? No? Okay, well then it is a compelling state interest to continue on that kind of thing. Again, that's fairly easy to understand. I don't really have any problem if the Sherbert test is what they're going to use to determine whether or not it is a religious burden or a compelling state interest. I think that's okay. It seems to make sense, which I guess is amazing that they actually reinstated it, because it makes sense. Now then there's the Lemon test, which again is 3 prongs, but it's almost a little more straightforward in its prong usage. The court's decision in this case established the Lemon test, which was Lemon versus Kurtzman in 1971, so 4 years later. Alton Lemon was the plaintiff there. It details the threefold. There's the entanglement prong, the effect prong, and then the purpose prong. I don't know why the use of prongs, but we'll go with it. Entanglement prong is the statute must not result in an excessive government entanglement with religious affairs. I like that one too. Effect prong. The statute must not advance nor inhibit religious practice. This is very much why I quoted Thomas Jefferson. The purpose prong. The statute must have a secular legislative purpose. Again, almost reiterating the second, that it must not advance or inhibit a religious practice. So the Lemon test is definitely the separation of church and state in this RFRA kind of context. Any questions?
This is all very good, assuming it is used by someone who is a reasonable, non-asshole-ish person. Assuming it is used in the manner in which it is intended, because there's definitely a heavy weight of intent in the wording here. But obviously, people are going to try to abuse it, and I'm sure we'll get to that.
I feel like they have more or less ignored the intent and the wording of the Sherbert-Lemon test.
But politicians.
Well,
that's all.
Yeah,
they're following a path that they believe either personally or, and I'm the part where I'm trying to figure out right now is this something that they're doing because their constituents are really calling for it, or is this something that they're doing in spite of the bulk majority of their constituency? I'm sure they'll try. Jury's still out on that as to, because you only hear about a couple businesses here and there, and they're like, I won't do this because they're gay.
Well, here's my problem with that that behavior ever. Is that according to the strictures of the tests we've just examined in detail? Thank you, Andy.
Yeah.
This whole thing of this whole thing that they're doing, which is trying to refuse service to gay people because they think they're icky. How does admitting service to these people inhibit your ability to practice your religion?
It does not.
It doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't stop you from going to church. It doesn't stop you from reading the Bible. It doesn't stop you from doing any of those things.
And let's face it.
What it does do is infringe upon a secular right held sacred by the government, which is that everyone has a right to equal opportunity and equal treatment. So it doesn't matter which test you're looking at, it falls apart immediately.
Right. And my question in all of this is, it was the question that was raised when it was by another, I forget which governor asked the question. He's like, what problem are they trying to solve? Is this a result of people heartfelt complaining to their lawmaker that they want something done about icky gay people, quote unquote, or is this lawmaker saying, you know what we ought to fucking do?
Yeah, what problem is caused by the existence of these gay people who may or may not want to give you their business? Spoiler alert, they probably don't, because the gay community is really great about organizing boycotts against people who are assholes. So they're probably not going into your place of business anyway. So A, you don't have to worry about it right there. B, all you're doing, if they even do want to go into your place of business, I don't know why, but if for some reason they do, all you're doing is hurting your own business with this law. You are denying someone giving you money. What the fuck are you smoking?
You know what? When I think about it, I think I actually answered my own question, because when Chick-fil-A announced their anti-gay agenda, essentially, and the reason why they weren't supporting the Muppet movie because the creators were pro-inclusiveness and whatnot, people flocked to Chick-fil-A. They had a business boom for a short period of time there.
Yeah, but they didn't gain any new business.
No,
that's the misleading thing.
They didn't gain any new business, but people, God-fearing folk went more often to Chick-fil-A.
But people who were already giving their business, the market share that they already have was simply going more frequently. They were actually, as far as I know, Chick-fil-A is actually losing market share to other businesses. I haven't looked into it a whole lot, but they're certainly not growing.
Yeah, so Mike, the question that I was asking was, what is driving this trend towards, expanding quote unquote RFRA to essentially discrimination of gays? And I think it honestly is,
it's a deeply held religious belief that gays are of the devil.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much the end all.
It is the constituency at large that is backing the politician, not the politician who is leading the constituency.
Now, speaking of politicians, I have two things to add. One is that there's no such thing as bad publicity in business. If you are in the news, people are going to flock to you. It's going to be in your memory. You're going to think of it. You're not even going to necessarily remember why you thought of it, but it's there in the common consciousness. It's just something that happens. So any press that they got ended up being good press for them. People went. And, of course, the heroin that they obviously bred their chicken in will continue to bring those people in. I mean, because it's so damn good. But that's Chick-fil-A.
Delicious bigotry.
It is delicious bigotry.
It is delicious bigotry.
And, I will say one thing for Chick-fil-A. As soon as their board of directors and their owner, founder guy goes away, I will certainly be back, because they have the nicest staff. They really do. Mm-hmm. They're clean restaurants, great food, nice, attentive staff. I have no complaints other than the corporate bigotry.
As I understand it, that's only if you're white.
It's only if you're white.
It's a different experience when you're black.
Yeah, I have inside knowledge of the subject, If you are anything other than the whitest white bread they can possibly be, you are treated horribly. And that's both on the staff and as part of the customer base.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's awful.
Well,
it is. It's not just institutionalized anti-gay. It's institutionalized racism, institutionalized anti-Semitism. It's bad.
Oh. Well, I guess I won't be going back.
Delicious
Anyway,
bigotry.
Delicious
Massive
bigotry.
amounts of bigotry.
Yes.
So much.
I mean, and that may still be on a case-by-case basis, because I've been to them a few times, and I've seen white, black, different people being treated equally. So I think
But you're only seeing
the training videos and read the manual. I've seen the training videos and read the manual. It is not. It's all very subtle, so that no one can call them out in court. But there's definitely an undertone of if you're not white, you're not acceptable. It's all over the place.
Wow. Okay. Well, hopefully, all that training material would also change, and it would just be, a siege throughout everything. But anyway, back on the actual government for a minute. It's always the First Amendment that we're trampsing on all the time. So I want to read off the text of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Okay? It's short. Everyone should actually commit it to fucking memory. Okay? Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. It's short. It's one really long run-on sentence, but it says it all.
They could have removed a few ors.
They could have, but at least they use semicolons.
Yeah, well, there's
so, grammatically, it's tops. And then, often associated with the First Amendment is the 14th Amendment. And really, it's only because of Section 1 and Section 5. Section 1 of the 14th Amendment: all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. And Section 5, the Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. So the 14th Amendment gives the federal government rights over the states to make sure they're treating the citizens properly.
Yes. Because I don't care how loudly you squawk, states, you lost the Civil War. Because that's what it was. It was states' rights versus the federal government.
Yeah.
And you lost. You are not a bunch of individual states who happen to work together. You are simply a tiny piece of the United States of America. You need to fucking get over it. The federal government has the power to make you do, ultimately, whatever it wants. Suck it up.
Mike, I have a little clip for you.
Will you shut up? Now we see the violence inherent in the system. Shut up! Come and see the violence inherent in the system. Oh, bloody peasant! Oh, what a giveaway! Did you hear that?
Awesome. Awesome.
It's funny because they are exactly like that guy, and like that guy, they don't have the authority to do what they're doing.
We're an autonomous collective.
No,
Exactly.
you're not. Sorry. No, you're not.
Help, bring rest.
No, you're not.
So that was then. That is what has brought us up to the now, with all that baloney and bullshit. It's not terrible, really. In a country where we do value our own individual rights, and part of those rights is the right to express your religious preference in whatever way that does not inflict damage on another person. You know, a quote that I came across today from former Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, possibly the best Supreme Court Justice we've ever had, was, "The right to swing my fist ends where the other person's nose begins."
Yep.
Yeah.
So my personal rights end where your personal rights begin.
Yep.
That's
I call it the inverse freedom versus population density effect.
It's common sense. It's the most common sense thing you can think of.
Yeah. It really is.
As soon as that other person begins, their rights begin. And you need to remember that.
Yeah. When you're in the middle of nowhere, you can strip down to your skivvies and jacket in the middle of the woods. With no one around to see it,
And no one can stop you.
No one can stop you, and because there's no one there, it's perfectly okay. But you try that shit in the middle of New York, somebody's going to say something to you, and they have a right to.
Yeah, that's where it becomes a problem, and that's the thing that these I say religious with huge sarcastic air quotes, because someone who is truly following this religion would be, peaceful and loving and accepting. These religious, sarcastic air quotes, nut jobs think that these people that gays aren't people. Well, according to the federal government of the United States of America, yes, they are. So you have to treat them as such. You raging douchebag.
Well, unfortunately, we have a rash of these. Well, they would like to call them Religious Freedom Restoration Acts. They would like to. But they're not worded like the 1993 one. Or at least they weren't up until basically the entire country jumped down their throats about them. Indiana, in particular, really set off a firestorm over the last 2 weeks about their Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Now, I did not really dig into it possibly as closely as I should have, mostly because the whole thing pisses me off. But essentially, the way they worded it allows for complete discrimination based on a sincerely held religious belief. That test of where my fist hits your nose, that common sense is lacking in the wording of their laws.
Well, if you look at it, just to throw this in a different light, the Religious Freedom Restoration, the discrimination of gays and lesbians and even black people was a fundamental right of the religious.
You're going there?
That they once had.
You're going
they
there?
once had. It's been taken away from them for good fucking reason.
Absolutely,
no,
it's
you don't get
that
back.
But
the reason we took it away from you is because you're a douchebag.
Yeah, but if you look at it from the perspective of they're trying to restore the freedom to discriminate that they once had, I guess that's their rationale. That's I think how they sleep at night.
That's how they sleep at night, and it's reciting that ridiculous rhetoric while they're having pineapples shoved up their ass is how they're going to spend their time in hell.
Pineapple.
Well, that's an image right there.
Well, I'm making a reference to one of my favorites.
Sir, I want you to retract that statement because pineapples have no business in hell.
Well, it depends on where those pineapples are grown. If they're grown on the Dole Plantation in Hawaii, then yes, they go to heaven. Anywhere else, no, they go to hell. Those are not proper pineapples. They're imposter pineapples.
Okay. Now, if we go in here, let's see. The new Indiana statute also contains this odd language, as an article from The Atlantic was pointing out the differences in the law. Quote, a person whose exercise of religion has been substantially burdened or is likely to be substantially burdened by a violation of this chapter may assert the violation or impending violation as a claim or defense in a judicial or administrative proceeding, regardless of whether the state or any other governmental entity is a party to the proceeding. It's that part that removes the RFRA from being a governmental thing to being a personal thing. So why is it? It allows individual people to legally be bigots to other people. That's the wording. And there's no way that they could have defended that wording. And it was going to be used a lot. And if you don't think it was going to be used, well, there's a place called Memories Pizza in Indiana. And you might have already heard about it. It's out there. They decided to close their doors and not well, let's say, what was it? What were they saying here? Religious. They have a GoFundMe, so I'll just go ahead and read their narrative. Religious liberty is under assault in Indiana, and that's never been clearer than with the O'Connor family. I'm sorry, David. It's not you, obviously. I know. When asked by local press the hypothetical question of whether or not they'd prefer to have their family-owned business, Memories Pizza, cater a gay wedding, the owner said no, citing their own religious beliefs as the reason. Rather than allowing his family to simply have their opinion, which they were asked to give, outraged people grabbed the torches and began to campaign to destroy the small business in small-town Indiana, all for having an opinion that is rooted in faith. No one was turned away. No one was discriminated against. It was a hypothetical question asked by a news reporter who had questionable motives to begin with. After being interviewed by Dana Loesch on her television show on Blaze TV, we learned that the family may never reopen the doors to their restaurant as the death threats and vicious online reviews continue to pour in from the arbiters of bunny-eared tolerance.
Okay, so here's why I have a problem with this story.
Oh, it gets worse, Mike.
No, just let me jump in right here before it gets worse.
Okay.
Because I don't want this to snowball any more than it already is in my head.
Just wait.
You people of this pizza place, you have the right to spout your hatred. You have that right. But the rest of us have the right to say that's unacceptable, and then, campaign to stop your business, set up boycotts, and make it known that you are an asshole. We have that right. And if you had to shut your doors because people were making it difficult for you to run your business in a completely legal way, then you know what? That's the consequences for your actions. Your actions have consequences. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from judgment.
Right.
Yeah. Especially among your peers.
Exactly.
And it's not the government that is, shutting them down.
No.
It's the community in which they reside, which has turned on them for having their views.
And you know what?
You know what?
That's your fucking problem.
Well, it's their fucking problem, because obviously you're a shitty businessman. Because any businessman would say, would I cater a gay person's wedding? Do they have money?
How much are they paying?
Because that's where my concern fucking ends.
Yeah.
Okay. But this also goes back to where you say any advertising is good advertising.
Yeah.
I mean, the GoFundMe made
over
four.
Hold on. We're gonna get there. Okay. We're gonna get there, because that's not all the story.
Yeah.
Now there was that televised interview and all that, but it's really meaningless. They set up this GoFundMe thing because they were closing down, and I'm totally okay with a group rallying around somebody to get them over a hump. That makes perfect sense to me. GoFundMe's a fantastic thing for them. They had a modest goal of $25K, with the intent that the family, stave off this burdensome thing. Because, running a business is very expensive when you do have the lights on. When you do close the doors, those bills don't stop coming. I completely understand that. It does make sense, with the idea that, we'll come back to it, it'll be okay. Within 2 days, they raised $842,387.
They don't need to reopen the doors.
They do not need to, no. Now, here's where it gets sketchy, as if it wasn't necessarily sketchy enough. There's another article out there that it has come to light that the Indiana Memories Pizza fundraiser is a conservative media scam.
Oh.
Of course it is. I am not surprised in the least.
This was brought to my attention mere moments before we went live. By now, most of you have heard about the Indiana pizza shop that announced it would refuse to cater same-sex wedding ceremonies. I'm pretty sure most self-respecting gay couples wouldn't serve pizza at their wedding receptions or rehearsals, but Memories Pizza went ahead and put their bigotry out there for everyone to know about anyhow. And they promptly felt the collective wrath of the internet, because it's the internet, people. Backlash was absolutely devastating, and Memories Pizza quickly announced they would be closing their business until further notice. Sounds like an open and closed case of bigotry rearing its ugly head and quickly being slapped down by the good people of the world, right? Not so fast. While the outrage toward their announcement was certainly legitimate, the GoFundMe campaign that was launched to support Memories Pizza and has currently raised over $500,000 is about as genuine as a $3 bill. Yesterday, Glenn Beck's website, The Blaze, gushed over the fundraiser, calling it the greatest thing I've seen in years, as their blogger Jason Howerton wrote. Quote, in less than 24 hours, over 8,000 people have donated more than $228,000 for the embattled Christian owners of Memories Pizza in Walkerton, Indiana. A slew of online threats forced the small business to close its doors after the owners told a local news station that they would refuse to cater for same-sex weddings based on their religious beliefs. Among all the donations was a $20 contribution that is being called the greatest thing I've seen in years and the epitome of real tolerance. The GoFundMe page was set up by Lawrence Jones, a contributor for the Blaze TV's Dana, that person. As you notice, the Blaze admits that the page was set up by Lawrence Jones, a contributor to their TV program anchored by Dana Loesch. Seems transparent enough, right? Not really. It's already obvious that the campaign was started by an employee of The Blaze, but that's not all there is to the story. Lawrence Jones isn't just a contributor to The Blaze. Lawrence Jones is also a political operative who has worked with James O'Keefe from Project Veritas as an investigator. Yes, that James O'Keefe. It goes on and on and on, and essentially, oh look, the Koch brothers are involved too.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
This isn't a matter of public response saving this people. This is a targeted attack by people with a vested political interest who have money to just they can just hemorrhage money into this to make it look like there is public support for this when there isn't, because that's the kind of bullshit backstabbing tactics they use.
Yeah.
It's got 83,000 shares, 29,000 contributors or so. And Mike, you got a shout out on chat.
Oh boy. Who's
Nico the
chatting?
Newt Cake.
What?
Nico the Newt Cake.
Noob Cake.
Noob cake. Noob cakes. Delicious noob cakes. Nom 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 nom.
Yay, we have people in the chat. Yay! Thank you very much for being there. Okay.
Now I gotta get into the chat and see what's going on.
You never know. Okay, so we got a scam going on there. Everybody's spouting all sorts of interesting lies about everything. Now, let's see. There's a video clip about this whole pizza shop thing, and I'm gonna play that just so that we have a little bit of face and audio to go along with it, even though it's probably useless. Let's see.
Only on ABC 57 News tonight, we went into small towns tonight for reaction to the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. We found one business just 20 miles away from a welcoming South Bend with a much different view. Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Dorman.
And I'm Colleen Borman. The business is Memories Pizza. It's been a Walkerton mainstay for nearly a decade. And
that was Dorman and Borman. I don't know why they ended up with rhyming names, but I find that terribly amusing.
Tonight, they are standing up for their religious beliefs. This story is just one part of ABC 57's team coverage on the Religious Freedom Act. And tonight, Marissa Keniston also talked with a PR company about this nightmare for the state. But we start with Alyssa, live in front of that business. Alyssa, what do the owners have to say tonight?
Go ahead, Alyssa.
Well, Colleen, I learned from the workers here at this restaurant that they agree with Governor Pence and the signing of this bill. They say they have a right to believe in their religion and protect those ideals.
If a gay couple was to come in, like say they wanted us to provide them pizzas for a wedding, we would have to say no.
Crystal O'Connor and her family are standing firm in their beliefs tonight. They've owned Memories Pizza and Ice Cream in Walkerton for almost 10 years. A small-town business.
It's a cute little town, Walkertucky.
With the small-town ideals.
We're a Christian establishment.
They pride themselves in...
There are an awful lot of crosses on the wall of this pizza and ice cream joint. Though pizza and ice cream, I'd never thought of that as a delicious combo for a corner store kind of thing. I guess it works for them.
Owning a business that reflects their religious beliefs.
We're not discriminating against anyone. It's just that's our belief. And everybody has the right to believe anything.
So when Governor Pence signed the Religious Freedom Restoration Act into law, the family was not disappointed.
We definitely agree with the bill.
I asked her about the negative backlash it's been getting for being a discriminatory legislation. Her response:
I do not think it is targeting gays. Personally, I don't think it's a discrimination.
She believes it's a way to protect businesses like hers.
Oh, it's supposed to help people that have a religious belief.
She says because she is a Christian, she and her family don't support gay marriage, and that is their right.
I agree with the bill.
Kevin O'Connor is Crystal's father, and you could say he's set in his ways. He believes the negative backlash the bill and its supporters are getting isn't fair.
That's a lifestyle that you choose. You know, I choose to be heterosexual.
I wonder when he chose to be heterosexual.
Right? That's a good question.
I would like him to choose right now, Mr. Handlebar Mustache Man, that you need to be gay. I just go ahead and choose that.
Do it. Prove us all wrong. You can't.
Yeah, it's a terribly old argument, and the best way is, well, okay, then just choose to be gay. Go ahead. I'll wait.
It's a terrible old argument, and it's been proven wrong. It's just plain not true.
Yeah. But obviously, yes, he is set in his ways, and I have had enough of this small-town pizza and ice cream shop. However, we do have more audio, more clips.
Insist this is not...
Oh, hang on. Just to give you a little bit here. CNN, I guess his name is Tapper. Jake Tapper battles Arkansas, does... okay. All right. Arkansas is also coming up with their own very similar, almost identical, I wonder who wrote it kind of bill. And, well, CNN, which I was kind of surprised about, CNN was championing the charge against them trying to figure out why. And he asked one, why? And, well, let's watch the monkey dance.
Insist this is not about discrimination against gays and lesbians. It's about the rights of religious people. So what does that mean in practice? And joining me now to discuss this all is Republican Arkansas State Senator Bart Hester. He is the sponsor of the state's religious freedom bill. Senator, thanks for joining us. I had thought that Governor Hutchinson had said he would sign. What's your reaction to his saying it needs to now be changed to narrow it to more closely match the federal law?
Well, I think the reaction is it's not any different than the governor's handled all legislation that comes to his desk. He's very pragmatic. He's a very popular governor because he is pragmatic and fair. He's looked at this bill from all directions. He thinks there needs to be a couple amendments, and I'm open to considering those.
Let's talk about what this bill would do. If there is a conservative Christian florist, would it allow that florist to deny?
It's always about florists and bakers, and I think we have a real concern here about the wedding industry.
Which doesn't make any sense to me at all, because weddings make so much goddamn money. And gay weddings, especially, make so much goddamn money. Why would you deny yourself this business?
Amazingly enough, I guess there are some folks out there that do put their religious principles ahead of their pocketbook.
Well, the only question I have about this whole story, going back to where it originated from, the Blaze, how many businesses did they hit before they found the one that said no?
That's a good question. Of course, we're never going to find out that kind of polling. But that's a very good question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that. It wouldn't surprise me in certain areas like that where they knew they were going to find one. They knew they were probably going to find 10. And all it took was to get the right soundbite. Because, they're selling their own version of bigot soap. I guess.
Bigoted soap?
Bigoted soap, yes. So, okay, let's go back to Arkansas because
is that soap you're not allowed to wash your butt with? Never use this below the waist.
No. It's
and do not, under any circumstances, deep throat this soap.
Wow.
We have attached a handy wrist lanyard on it so that you can never drop it.
Oh, the soap on a rope.
Mm-hmm.
The dope soap on a rope. Okay.
I am not entirely sure what just happened here, but let's go with it. Fantastic. This is quality entertainment.
This is quality. Okay. So this guy in Arkansas is basically going to tell us why it's not discriminatory. It's not a bigot bill, basically. Now, remember, this is not Indiana. We're now moving to one of the other 20 plus states that have already enacted this kind of religious freedom bill thing.
Providing services to a gay couple who wants flowers at their wedding.
Well, I think that's two different questions to me. I think it does not allow for discrimination in any way, and it does not allow for a florist to discriminate against a gay couple looking for flowers. Now, what I think it does allow is for a florist that has a strongly held religious belief to be able to hold that belief close and not participate in the message of a homosexual wedding or ceremony. I think the First Amendment is very close to all of our hearts in America, and it's part of the cornerstones of who we are.
See, this is what I don't understand with supporters of this type of legislation. Would it allow the florist to not give flowers to the same-sex couple or not? You're saying almost two things. You're saying that there's no discrimination, but the Christian conservative doesn't have to participate in a ceremony they find objectionable. It's just one or the other. I'm just trying to figure out what it does. I'm not judging the legislation.
Sure. No, I think, to be clear, it does not allow someone to discriminate, and I think they should absolutely serve a homosexual couple. It also lets them hold their personal religious beliefs close on a message. And that
on a message. He's using that word message. I do not think he knows what that word means.
I don't think he knows what the other guy is saying is answer the fucking question. Because you're not answering the fucking question.
No, he knows he's not answering the fucking question.
Does it permit them to refuse service on religious grounds or not? Because if it allows them to refuse service on religious grounds, that's on any grounds, really. That is discrimination.
It's hard not to answer the question.
It's discrimination.
straw man.
Oh yeah. Hang on. Let's watch the monkey dance some more.
Message. But again, I wouldn't ask a Nazi to, or I guess I wouldn't ask a.
Wait. Nazis. Oh, wait. Let's go to Godwin's Law immediately. Nazis.
You've immediately lost the argument at that point. It's no, you're on the losing side. Whatever it is.
Yes, he's gone there. Let's see where he tries to now fill in the hole that he continues to.
Oh my God!
You put a Nazi swastika on a cake. That wouldn't be fair either.
But how are they going to stay true to their conservative Christian beliefs and also not discriminate? This is what I don't get here. Are you saying that they can hold true and not participate in an event that they don't find holy, that they think is objectionable or sinful, or are you saying that they have to? I'm confused.
You're not the only one that's confused.
It's so confused. And can we briefly pause to take a brief aside, because I like to mention this every time it comes up. Whenever the swastika comes up, I have to say this: the swastika is not a Nazi symbol. Okay, it is a symbol associated with Eastern religion and philosophy, specifically Hinduism, Buddhism, and something called Jainism, which I don't know anything about. But it's a religious symbol. It's a symbol of auspiciousness. And here's the link for that. We'll make sure that I think we need to make sure to put that in the notes, because it needs to be brought up every time Nazi Germany is mentioned ever, because this symbol has been turned into something horrible by a bunch of dickbags, and it needs to be remembered where it came from, because it is sacred to some people.
Yeah, well, it was one of the things that came across my feed today, and I'm going to try to find the picture, but I'm having some difficulty with that. The medical field, right? They are compelled to give top quality medical care to everybody. There is no discrimination allowed whatsoever. And because Godwin's Law has already been broken, this came across my feed today of a nurse going, if I can give medical care to Nazi sympathizers, they can give pizza to a gay.
They give full hospital care to people on death row. On death row, they are required to, regardless of their personal objections. Those doctors, they took an oath. They have to follow it. They treat them.
That's right. You have to die healthy.
Yeah.
I always wonder about that, but yes.
But the point is it doesn't matter what you believe. You have to do your fucking job. You have to help these people.
That was a quote by Isabel Holland. It says, quote, "I'm a nurse, obliged to provide top-notch care and comfort, even to individuals with freaking swastikas tattooed on their flesh. If I can take care of Nazi sympathizers, they can serve pizza to gay people."
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, that was in my feed as well. Yes. Okay. So let's see what this monkey.
He's dancing. He's doing the dance.
He's dancing. And I'm sorry to give monkeys a bad name like that. I really am. The man in the suit here. Let's see what he says.
Well, it's not a confusing issue at all. The First Amendment
lies
is not confusing. We have the right to freedom of speech. We have the right to hold our strongly held religious beliefs close to us. I think there is a difference in serving someone. I don't think there's any portion of that the government doesn't have compelling interest to have businesses serve individuals. They cannot force that individual to participate in a ceremony that they don't believe in.
But so you're saying that the florists would have to provide flowers, for example, or caterers would have to provide food, but a wedding photographer who objects to same-sex marriage wouldn't have to participate in that? It's about the participation in the ceremony as opposed to the providing of services?
It's a good distinction to make. It's like, okay, now I'm trying to understand it from your viewpoint, but I can't quite put my head up my ass that far. Can you go ahead?
The hips get in the way.
Yeah, I'm not dilated that much. Can you just kind of go ahead and spell it out for me a little bit more?
That's right. It's about the participation in the message.
Oh, good.
Someone doesn't have to participate in the message of something if they don't want. And the Supreme Court has said a message can be an action. For instance, an unpopular thing is burning the American flag, which makes me ill. but that is an action that we have the right to do in America through free speech. There can be another unpopular decision for a Christian baker to not want to participate in the ceremony of a gay wedding. But I assure you, this bill does nothing to promote or take away discrimination.
It's providing the cake, participating in the message. That's the point. I think to many conservative Christians, it is, right?
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll tell you, that's for the
trap is sprung.
Individual to decide for themselves.
So it would allow for them to discriminate. That's what you're saying. It would allow, if they feel that their participation in the ceremony, by providing pizza, by providing catering, by providing flowers, photographs, cake, whatever, that is participating in the message, then they could refrain and refuse to serve the same-sex couple.
I think you're right. I think they would not have to perform a message that they don't agree with through the freedom of speech. There's so many other issues that you can go along with. What if somebody told a Christian radio station they had to advertise with companies that they opposed? I don't think that's fair or right either.
All right, but
they do have to.
Yeah. Well, no, you can.
It's a fee structure.
But they don't have to. You can avoid certain advertisers.
Right.
I mean, all you have to do is just look at the number of people that have dropped Rush Limbaugh. You know, but also there's the advertiser's not going to want to be there. So often you don't see that.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for the right demographic, and if you suddenly start spouting nonsense that is completely antithetical to their message in the first place, you know, I use that word message, but I actually mean it, then they're not going to want that target demographic is not going to be served. So it's pouring money into a bad hole.
That's what she said.
I know. Wait a second. What am I talking about here? It must be all these Republicans. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm not going to keep going with him because he's an idiot, and he will continue to espouse that no, it is not discriminatory at all, even though yes, you can use it to discriminate.
That's kind of the definition of discriminatory. Can it be used to discriminate? Then it's discriminatory.
Yeah, and he agreed with him that yes, you can. So he was talked into a cute little corner there, and I have great respect for the CNN anchors at this point, considering there's also another CNN clip where Don Lemon challenged a certain guest who is the attorney for the Alliance for Freedom to defend the law, asking why it hasn't been fixed as a result of the national backlash. Now, this is an interesting one because for some reason they also brought in Penn Jillette on this particular panel.
I don't know what they were thinking there.
Like, why did you do that?
I mean, I strongly disagree with some of his stances on religion. I think he's kind of an ass in giving his opinion. But you know what? He doesn't try to. He calls it like he sees it, and he doesn't try to crush other people with his beliefs. He will sit there and debate with you about it.
Yeah.
He doesn't use nice flowery language, but you know what? That neither do I, so I can't fucking say shit.
Well, actually, it depends on the venue.
It does.
If he is actually a very kind, well-spoken person, if you get him in the right situation, if you put him into what we usually see him in, which is these controversial things where everybody's tooth and claw, ready to rip at each other, then yeah, he's gonna get fired up and he's gonna go for the jugular to end it as quickly and painlessly as possible. He's actually being humane when you think of it. He's trying to put them down fast. But I didn't know this about Don Lemon. Now, if I may just, it's probably because I don't watch CNN very much. He actually outed himself as being gay on this particular interview. So he has a very big vested interest in bigotry because he's also a black man. He's a black gay man on CNN talking politics all the time.
Is he Jewish too? Because that's like He's really close to being part of a Weird Al Yankovic song. If he were Jewish and he could somehow join the KKK.
I don't think that he ever would. Let's see. Oh dear. Well, I was going to show it, but apparently the video is no longer available because the uploader has closed their YouTube account. Okay, so
they may have received some feedback.
They probably received some feedback. So I will at least the Raw Story was able to get some of the narrative. So a host on Lemon challenged Christine Wagner, attorney for the Alliance for Freedom, to defend the law. Quote, well, I don't think that the law needs to be fixed, Wagner said. What we have seen is that federal religious freedom laws have been in place for 20 years, and 31 states have a very similar standard. So these absurd hypotheticals and claims that the media have been portraying have been conjecture. But what we do know is that the religious freedom laws benefit all Americans, that they benefit all faiths in all different contexts. So the suggestion that this about one particular political debate is not reality. When pressed by Lemon why the law didn't contain language protecting gay and lesbian people, Wagner began to talk about religious freedom again, before Lemon cut her off saying, "You're not answering my question." Asked by Lemon for his take on the law passed in Indiana, with Arkansas and Georgia possibly to follow, Penn Jillette began by saying that he's not an expert on the subject, which is good to go ahead and get that out there. He says, quote, there is more to gay sex than cake and flowers, he explained as Wagner's eyes narrowed. These people are not being asked to engage in gay sex or even endorse gay sex. They're being asked to sell flowers and cake to people, and that is hypothetical. Now, I'm a libertarian and an atheist, so I'm kind of fighting myself on this. I don't like the government involved in telling people what to do. I certainly want people to have religious freedom, because the only way people who don't have religion can have freedom is if people who do have religion have freedom. Which is true. Really.
Because freedom of religion also means freedom from religion, so that's important.
Right. But all the same, we have to make sure that we don't get too crazy in hypotheticals, he continued. You're not talking about forcing people to engage in gay sex or even endorse gay sex. We're asking them that maybe they can treat people the same as other people, and that does not seem unreasonable. It's okay, I suppose, although goofy, to be against gays, but it's not okay to be against people who simply want to use your services. Wagner responded with an odd allegory saying journalists might not like writing messages that they disagree with Jillette quickly responding, journalists all the time write things they disagree with, as Lemon laughed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she simply didn't have an argument and was shut down rather succinctly, I believe. But she was still smiling and nodding and shaking her head that, I'm sorry, you poor, poor people are just all going to hell. I could just see that in her face. Just, you're all going to burn in the lake of fire, and I'll just pray for you later.
All my friends will be there.
Yeah, it's true.
And we'll have all the fucking beers. So
yeah, honestly, the more I think about it, the more my idea of heaven includes being the guy with the pitchfork, poking people back into the lake of fire. Yes, burn, you motherfuckers, burn.
There's a book that I read. It was On a Pale Horse, and it was about a guy who becomes. On a Pale Horse. But the part that I'm singling out from this book is he's driving down the road, and hell has purchased billboards advertising shit, and it's got this woman who's stripping down in an animated billboard, and it goes, "You won't see this in heaven."
Those are the Incarnation of Immortality series by Piers Anthony. They're very good.
Winning.
Yes,
that would be some good stuff. That would be some good stuff. Now, just to round out the talking heads here, we have Tom Cotton of Arkansas. Now, he's a special kind of guy. and he's not afraid to speak his mind.
Also known as posturing for presidential bid.
Yeah. Now wasn't he also the guy that sent a letter?
He sent a letter that he didn't apparently write to Iran and the ambassadors of Iran.
That has his signature on it, but he didn't have anything to do with it.
No.
Well, no, he signed it and he endorsed it, and he got a bunch of other senators to sign it as well. But he didn't actually write it. It was written by not Alec, but another fundamental right-wing group that passed this up to him, and he's like, I smell a way to make a name for myself in the Tea Party circles, and he moved to the merchandise.
Yeah. So let's see what he has to say on the rejection of the Religious Freedom Bill.
Get your quick reaction to what's going on in your home state of Arkansas. Very different subject. The governor, Asa Hutchinson, as you well know, decided he wasn't going to sign into law this religious freedom bill, in part based on what's going on in Indiana right now. Your reaction?
Well, Wolf, in Arkansas, we believe in religious freedom. That's one reason why our
everybody believes in religious freedom.
That's one reason why our
But the question is the discrimination, potential discrimination against gay Americans.
The Religious Freedom Restoration Act was signed by former Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton in his first year in office. These laws are modeled on that, and a lot of the concerns about discrimination haven't been borne to bear over the last 20 years. But I also think it's important that we have a sense of perspective about our priorities. In Iran, they hang you for the crime of being gay. They're currently imprisoning an American preacher for spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ in Iran. We should focus on the most important priorities that our country faces right now. And I would say that a nuclear-armed Iran, given the threat that it poses to the region and to our interest in the region and American citizens, is the most important thing that we be focused on.
All right, so did Governor Hutchinson...
Straw man.
So
is
all
the
he's
logical
fucking
fallacy
saying,
here.
all he's saying is that...
You're lucky that you're not being hanged.
Yeah. All he's saying is our bigotry is okay because it's not as bad as that guy's over there.
Yeah.
No, it's still bigotry, and you're still an asshole.
It's still a straw man. And it's also a lie of omission that the RFRA that Bill Clinton signed is very different, very different wording than what has been signed in Indiana. And in point of fact, there was no reason for Indiana to create an RFRA which mirrors the federal law, which already supersedes state law.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah. The only reason that the states would have any business in doing this would be to basically facilitate yet more bigotry, yet more discrimination in the guise of being religious freedom.
Yeah.
It sounds great, and all the voters are going to eat this up. We can get so many loopholes this way. Let's do it. And that's pretty much what's going on. And obviously, he's just got this hard-on for, bombing Iran, basically.
Yeah.
More war. We need more war. More war. More war. More war.
Of course, the Republicans want to draw our attention outside the country. They don't want us looking at the horrible things they're doing to our own people right here at home.
Yeah.
That's been kind of a theme for the right wing, is we have to be involved in all of these other places.
So that you all will ignore us stripping away your rights and freedoms and making you conform to our own beliefs.
More than that, stripping away the rights and freedoms, exploding the national debt, giving tax cuts to rich people, which directly affect and harm middle class and poor folk of the country, doing away with meal programs for elderly citizens. They've gutted the VA.
Young children as well.
Young children as well, yeah. They gutted the VA continuously. They've gutted the VA. They gutted our security for embassies worldwide. They gutted the funding for our embassies.
And then when our embassies were attacked, they said, we had no idea why this happened. It must be the Democrats' fault.
And yet, they're doing all that, and then they increase our military spending.
They increase our military spending to an extent that, outdoes anything else that they've saved in money by underfunding other things.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just insanity. It's like they are the model of how not to run anything. Business, country, doesn't matter. You know, you do not explode your expenditures and reduce your income. That is idiocy.
Right. And they're doing it consistently.
It's their party platform. It's their Grover Norquist pledge to never, ever raise tax revenue. Not taxes, but revenue, essentially. They cannot support closing loopholes or instituting new taxes if they are to stay in line with the Grover Norquist pledge. And almost all of them have taken it. So that it's like saying, I'm gonna take part in this race. We're gonna run on this track, but first I need to tie my fucking shoelaces together before I do it. And to overcompensate for that, I'm gonna take a bunch of roids.
Yeah. I'm going to need to use this car with flat tires, but to compensate with that, I need more nitrous. Yeah, because that's going to get you there.
Yeah.
Oh, and we could continue to analogize on things like that forever and ever and ever. And if you want more of that, you ought to come back here next week. Because really, I think we're done with this. I don't have anything more to say. All the links you will find in the show notes. You can find that at www.ORlyRadio.com. That's ORLY radio.com. I'm going to save you the outro music. Do you have, before we continue on with the last gasp here, do you have any picks? For our 100, well, our 1 year anniversary. I was going to say 100th show, but it's like, no, that's further off. If we make it,
I do have a pick.
What's your pick?
And my pick is a universal CD slot mount for cell phones. So everybody's seen like the universal window mount, suction cup suctions to your window.
Yeah.
This goes in your CD slot, and it's got a little clip on it that it basically spreads these rubber tabs out that hold it in place securely.
Do you have one?
Huh?
Do you have one yet?
I did have one. I left it in a rental car.
Okay.
So I have another one on order because it's that good.
Well,
Because nobody needs CDs anymore, so.
Yeah, nobody needs CDs anymore, and it puts your cell phone down basically below dash level. So you're not obstructing your windshield at all, and it's closer to your power plug, so you're not stringing a cable all over your vehicle.
I have a word of caution. I have one. Not this one, but something similar. It has the 3 tabs thing and a little screw to make sure that it stays in the slot properly.
I have one of those too, and that one sucks.
Well, why does it suck?
Because of the screw.
Okay, why does the screw suck?
It eventually loosens and falls out of your CD player.
Okay, mine doesn't do that. However, what it has done is it has destroyed the CD player's ability to play CDs.
Huh.
So, if I would say go ahead with this if you're never going to use your CD deck again.
Well, that's me.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm streaming podcasts all the time. That's what I do.
I stuck that bitch in countless rental cars, so I don't know how much damage I've done. But
you may be destroying an entire fleet.
There's a lot of Dodge Chargers and Grand Caravans that may be missing the functional CD player. But
hey, it's not yours.
This thing's fantastic. I've used it in my car. I haven't tried the CD player since then.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Once it goes in, you're probably never taking it out, so you don't know the damage. But I tried it once, and it's like, oh, fudge. So just keep that in mind.
Supposedly, it's not supposed to damage your CD player.
No.
Supposedly.
Maybe I turned the screw too much. I don't know.
Not supposed to screw it so hard.
Well,
that's
old habits die hard.
Well, that's one of the things I like about this one is it's got a basically a clamp. It's not a screw clamp. It's just a kind of a lever that you push together on the bottom of it, and it holds it more securely than the screw tab ever did on the other one that I have, which I tossed. And this is actually lighter and it packs better than the other one as well. So I really love this thing. And if my cell phone was my everything device. I had my Garmin maps on there and whatnot, so I could have this sucker there. I could be listening to podcasts and I could have my maps going at the same time, and I didn't have to pack a separate GPS unit, which could also and was at times lost in a rental car.
I see. Yeah, it looks pretty good, and it is very affordable at $15 with Amazon Prime.
Yes.
You should definitely go take a look at that if that's something that you're interested in and have no interest in playing CDs anymore.
Yeah, that link also has the one with the screw, which is cheaper. I don't recommend that because mine constantly would come loose and fall right out of my CD player, which is not good.
No.
You don't want that.
Mine was more, and it had the screw, and has the screw, and it's from Mount Tech, which is another one of those in there. But it opens wide enough that I can use my Nexus 7 because the Nexus 7 tablets they also have GPS built in. So if you have an offline map thing, which I do, which is Copilot GPS, which I paid for once, it was like $14-15. And it offline maps. It works. It's very much like a full GPS, but it's the big 7-inch screen, and it works very well.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not as nice as Waze, where you can just say the address. You have to go through the old school way of saying, okay, it's in this town. Okay, it's on this street. Okay, here's the house number. I hate that. I hate that. Please become a little more modern, but it works.
Yeah.
And it has nice like British female voice guidance, which I apparently respond to better. I don't know.
Well, everyone in America responds well to the female British voice.
Yes, British actors are actually taking over Hollywood. It's a thing.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
See? That's why you're okay with this. I am too. But just now all the Native American. Well, not Native Americans, but Americans have to now come up with a British accent so they can then go back to being American actors. It's kind of fun. It's ridiculous. So that's a couple good picks out there. Don, Mike, you got anything?
I don't think I've done anything really new. This.
What you playing?
What am I playing right now? A lot of Star Trek Online. That's what I'm playing right now. I also picked up Amnesia: The Dark Descent, which is an oldie but a goodie. So.
Well, that sounds entertaining.
Yeah, there's a. Yeah, you end up in a castle with no memory of who you are, and the whole place is falling apart, and there's some kind of Lovecraftian-esque monster chasing you. It's really good. I don't remember any of it because I played it like 10 years ago at least. I don't even know. I don't even know if I played it all the way through. So it's certainly going to be an experience.
All about the Lovecraft. All about that Lovecraft. Good
yeah.
stuff.
Well, I also found that Dark Corners of the Earth is an actual Lovecraft game is on Steam. So I definitely picked that up for like $5 because Dark Corners of the Earth was amazing. So just be ready to be scared shitless. That's all I'm saying.
Because who doesn't love to be scared? Excellent. And Don, I suppose that your pick should probably be a better respirator.
Yeah, no, I probably, yeah, it should be. not cutting too much laminate wood without proper protection.
Never cut your wood without protection, sir.
Oh, jeez, that's a horrible image. Horrible.
But anyway, no, actually, I had a couple of picks that go together.
Okay.
Somehow we talked about recording sometime before.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I was talking to a previous coworker, and who uses Pro Tools all the time, who used to use Pro Tools all the time, and they found something better than Pro Tools, and it's called Reaper. It's a multi-track editing, playback, and everything software fairly inexpensive, where Pro Tools is thousands of dollars. This thing, at most, is, I think he said $275. I forgot to look at the price, but they have different levels and whatever, and you can try it for free. And then to go with that, anybody who likes to transport audio locally, Audinate actually has a, I don't know how familiar you guys are with digital audio transmission, but Dante is one of the larger ones out there. They have a virtual sound card that you can buy, and it's a 64 by 64 audio card.
Oh, really?
Virtual audio card. And this can go to any device that does Dante, or you could probably put it to multiple computers and stream 64 channels bidirectionally between multiple locations.
Oh, that's interesting. They also, not only can you buy it, but you can rent it.
Yep.
You can rent the software for 7 and 30-day periods for as little as $3.95. That's interesting.
Yep, but the full version, unlimited, is $30.
Yeah.
Less than a hardware audio card.
Yeah, that's true. Now, I was looking at the Reaper thing, and they have a fair pricing schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are an individual or business using Reaper for commercial use, and the yearly gross revenue does not exceed $20,000, or if you're an educational organization or a nonprofit, or you're just an individual just using it for personal use, $60.
Yep.
If you're wanting the full commercial license because that's what you're going to do, it's $225, which is still pretty darn good.
Yes.
For what that's going to be.
I mean, I witnessed the two working together, the Reaper playing back 34 channels of audio over a Dante card to another device that actually has a hardware audio card, an audio processor.
Yeah.
And playing back seamlessly. You showed all 34 channels. The guy was working on a 32.2 system. And anybody knows audio, 7.1 is 7 speakers and a sub.
Yeah.
This was a 32 speaker system with 2 subs. And it has live panning. You can set up you can set up your speakers wherever they are in space and live pan between them. Audio source. I mean, it's fairly impressive for the small amount of money, because even Pro Tools has a hard time with some of that stuff.
That's cool. I have no need for that at all in my life.
I know.
I want it anyway.
That's why you'll get it.
No.
No, you can try it. You can try it for free.
That's true.
It has a warning that you should buy it and it counts down, but if you just want to play with it a few times, and sometimes it's there for trial.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yep.
That's ridiculously powerful. Okay, so dude, you get some good picks. You got some really good picks. Cool stuff. Okay. Now, really, that's it, guys. Show's over. You can stop the podcast right now, or you can head over to ORlyRadio.com, and you can see all the links to all of our stuff right up there at the top of the page. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We're out on Google+. We've got Tumblr. And, of course, the YouTube channel, where you can look at our shining faces with the mouth sounds coming out of our facefuls.
The mouth words.
The mouth words, yes.
From the facefuls, yes.
And, of course, hey, if you really like what we're doing, we've been doing this for a whole freaking year now. If you like what we've been doing and you get some enjoyment out of it, go over to patreon.com/Cowen, Cowen, and, hey, give me $1. Help me help you enjoy life. I'd love it. That would be great. So keep the lights on. And, of course, hey, I want to hear from you. What do you want us to do in the coming year? Because I'm not going to stop this. These guys keep showing up. I don't know why. I'm glad. But, hey, let me know what you want to do with the show. Drop us a line over at ORlyRadioPodcast@gmail.com, or, of course, give us a voicemail, 470-222-6759. That's ORly. Amazingly enough. And, hey, I think that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for coming by and spending some time with us or downloading us on whatever client it is that you happen to be using out there. Thank you very much. Leave us a favorable review if you can. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye. And it's in the can.